America, and the impeachment resolution and the 35 articles are intent on doing just that.
You've got quite a few co-sponsors just a few days into this. Tell us about that process, sir.
Well, the bill just went to Judiciary yesterday, and Congress adjourned for the week early in the day. We have three co-sponsors, Congressman Wexler, Congresswomen Lee and Woolsey have co-sponsored. Next week will be an opportunity for people to become co-sponsors. I would ask your listeners to please call their member of Congress and indicate your support for co-sponsorship. I would ask everyone who's listening, please read the articles of impeachment, because the more conversant you are, the more fluent you'll be in talking to congressional staff about the urgency of members of Congress getting onto it. My information is available on my website at kucinich.us, and certainly, if you check, there's 100,000 places on the web by now that have information about the articles of impeachment. This is a time for us all to get involved, and so what you can do is learn about it, read about it, be conversant in it, contact a member of Congress, make sure that they've read it, ask them to support the resolution, H.R. 1258, and then demand hearings. We have to have hearings. We cannot avert our eyes.
So that's the key. The hearings will open up this evidence. It will become a televised spectacle, which is what we need, so more people learn about the crimes that have committed. And by the way, you had to stop at 35. There were, what about 1 million dead Iraqis? What about, when you add it all together, frankly, I've got to say that yours is very measured, and I would call even conservative as bad as the 35 are. Now, I had read that 25 congressmen and women had, quote, signed onto it. I'd seen a media blurb. I guess that means they have publicly said they're supporting it. They just haven't had
They may be confused about that. That may have related to the Cheney impeachment. I'm not aware that we have 25 co-sponsors, but I will find that out immediately.
All right. How soon until we'll find out if we're able to force hearings in the House?
Well, here's what I've said. We need to start making calls, and all next week we need to be calling members of Congress and encouraging them to sign on, and also encouraging them to ask for hearings in Judiciary. I'm going to be meeting with the chairman of Judiciary and also with members of the Judiciary Committee, providing them with backup documentation for the charges that are in the articles. And I feel it's important that they have a little bit of time to be able to read them and digest them and make a decision. I've made it clear, though, that in the face of statements by the House leadership that this thing is dead on arrival, that unlike other resolutions where, in fact, if you introduce a bill and it goes to committee and they don't hold hearings, it is dead, a privilege resolution is one that you can bring back again. So I've made it very clear, if there's no action within 30 days, I will come back with 60 articles of impeachment and stand on the House floor for 8 hours and read them, and so that the nation can once again hear what's going on.
Congressman, I could never imagine reading these 35 articles of impeachment a more provable case. In their own memos, their own executive orders, their own Pentagon battle plans, this fake newscast, paying for fake media, agents of influence. Here's an example. This morning I ran across a story that I'd forgotten about from a few months ago, London Guardian, Associated Press, where John McCain went to a fundraiser in London, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, admitted it was illegal. There's no debating. Each count is a felony. And then he just said, so what? That's just another example of the government on every level is just going completely lawless. What has happened? It's like a...
Well, let me tell you, people who are U.S. expatriates, people who live in another country but are citizens of the United States, can contribute to the campaign of a federal candidate.
But they admitted these weren't U.S. citizens or expatriates.
Well, that's a whole different deal. I don't know. This first I've heard of
that was the Rothschild meeting, yes.
Wow. Well, but, my concern here is that in upholding the rule of law, we are basically correcting the direction of our ship of state.
That's it. We're complicit if we don't do what you're doing right now. We have a moral obligation to get behind Dennis Kucinich.
Yeah, Alex, I appreciate that. And I also want to say that I've just had my office check The impeachment resolution with respect to Vice President Cheney had 27 co-sponsors.
Okay.
Our bill that we've just introduced, and people had to put their name in as they, were leaving for the break for the weekend. We have 3. So
Good.
that by next week, I'm confident as people hear from their constituents around the country that they'll come back and sign on.
Congressman, with trillions missing from the Pentagon, $3 trillion spent on the war, you haven't heard the clip, but we played it earlier, of Michael Reagan saying that 9/11 truthers should be taken out summarily and killed without trials, and he said, I will pay for the bullets. And I've seen similar rhetoric from these neocons in talk radio. It seems like they're cornered now and that they're more dangerous than ever. Can you speak? I mean, are you getting a sense, because you're up there in the catbird seat in Congress, that things are coming to a head right now?
Our country, these events over the last 7 years have really divided our country, and we need to find a way to unite. We can unite in truth. We need to understand that there's just deep concern that people have on all sides that things are unfair and that people are being unfairly accused. Well, that's why we need hearings to bring it all out.
Well, you've been championing the fact that we have the EPA report that the dust was deadly and they covered it up. Now they've had to basically admit a lot of that in scientific studies, and we're called traitors for even saying we should give health care to the firemen and police.
Well, I felt you're correct in what you just said, but I will say this, that I feel strongly enough about bringing out the truth about 9/11 that I brought forth articles that for the first time make 9/11 truth a serious discussion in articles of impeachment, the obstruction of the investigation into the attacks of 9/11, the fact that the administration repeatedly ignored and failed to respond to high-level intelligence warnings of a planned attack.
You've got them there, and they were caught lying to Congress on that.
And the fact that the 9/11 those who responded to 9/11 were not told of the dangers to their health, and so they were encouraged to go forward without providing adequate protection. And that's an article as well, endangering the health of 9/11 first responders. So,
Congressman, shifting gears, we don't have a lot of time with you. We just got the next segment. I know you're a confident, manly guy. You don't like to talk about issues like this, but we know that we've had a lot of